Project 6 is going to utilize what you created for Project 5, the class and the class implementation file. In this project, you're going to create a main program that will demonstrate how to pass class objects to functions. So this main program will have its own functions, and you'll be passing class objects to it. So we're going to utilize the division sales.h and the division sales.cpp that you've already created. For this project, please name your REPL last name 6. You're not going to add any new functions to the division sales class. What you should try to imagine is a real-life scenario in which a class would be already created for you, and then you're just calling the functions to accomplish whatever task you need to accomplish. So again, no new functions need to be added. You do need to modify the division sales.h and division sales.cpp to include a couple of minor items. The first one is to utilize include guards in your division sales.h file, and I'll explain that in a moment. And the second thing is to make your functions constant where appropriate. There are videos, the resources you have available to you are the videos that are available in this module. I just want to pull them up real quick so you can see what it looks like. And I wasn't prepared. But if you scroll down into the assignment 6 section, you'll see that there's a video explaining include guards. There's a video explaining the constant member functions, a little more on constant member functions, and then this one I think is really important, the class objects as parameters, so being able to pass a class object and return a class object from a function using reference parameters and constant reference parameters. And then lastly, arrays of objects. So it is similar to how you worked with structs, but in this case, we're working with classes. All right, so going back here, include guards. So the include guard would need these statements added to your class declaration. So if not defined, division sales underscore H, define division sales underscore H, and then end the if at the end, right? So it's just adding those statements. Making functions constant. So in most cases, get functions should be constant. The reason for that is because get functions do not modify any of the data members. They simply retrieve the data member. In this case, you would add the const keyword to the end of the function header and to the end of the function prototype, and this will prevent data from being inadvertently modified inside of a function. And again, if you go back to the module, you'll see there is a video specifically on this. Okay. Review the main.cpp file attached to Project 6. So I did draft a program for you, a main.cpp file, so you can begin with that file, and you're going to make modifications to that file. Again, that file includes division sales.h, so you'll be leveraging the code that you already wrote in Project 5. Please take the time to review the file, and I'll go over it in just a minute. I do want you to add functions to this main program, and I will specify what those functions are and what the objective is for each of the function. There are 4 functions that you'll need to add. One of them is to get the division info. The next is to add to the year-to-date amount. The next is to remove from the year-to-date amount, and the last is to update the target sales amount. Okay, so take a quick look at the program that I'm providing. So imagine in this program, the user is going to be displayed a menu. The menu is those 4 items I just talked about, which, get info, add to year-to-date, remove from year-to-date, and update target. Those are your 4 menu items. And to get started, I have created a division sales object called Division North. then the user is going to need to enter in the info. So here's where you would call the getDivInfo function so that the users can enter in all the information about their division, and that is going to be a function of main. So again, if you can imagine what they're going to be asked, you're going to, inside this function, prompt the user to enter in their info, and then call the get functions from the class to store the values into the data members. The next thing is to display the menu. So to get us started in this while loop, this is just going to loop while the choice is not equal to quit. I just want to show you what the menu looks like. I already wrote that function for you. So there's the add, the remove, the update target, and then stop. So the user is going to enter in the choice as a char. This statement here is going to change it to an uppercase letter every time so that it's easier in our if statement, and choice gets returned to main. So right here, to get the loop started, I had to initialize this to X just so that it's not quit and doesn't stop. Then here we call the menu function. So the user's displayed the menu, and now if their choice is equal to A, we're going to add to the year-to-date amount. So what this function's objective will be is you're going to write a main function called add year-to-date. It is going to it's going to prompt the user to enter an amount to add to the year-to-date sales figure. It's going to add to the year-to-date sales figure by calling increase year-to-date, which is in your class. And then you're going to call the display function, again, a class function, to confirm that the value was added correctly. The next two functions are remove year-to-date and update target. So remove year-to-date works much like the add year-to-date, which is prompt the user to enter the sales amount that's going to be subtracted from the existing sales amount, and then call the class function decrease year-to-date to update the year-to-date member. Again, I want you to call the display. I'm just going to go back to the code. I want you to call the display function to again confirm that the value was subtracted correctly. And then lastly is the update target. So if for some reason the target value should be changed, this function prompts the user to enter a new target amount and then call the class function setTarget to change that sales target data member. Again, each of these is going to need to return the updated division sales object to main. Okay, so a couple of things that you should be aware of. Again, and I know I said this earlier, I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but I feel like it's important. Right here, you have this class objects as parameters. This is really an important video to watch, and it shows you how to pass an entire class into a function of main and pass it as a reference parameter or as a constant reference parameter and then return it. So a couple of last items here. Make sure you're using the display function that you already wrote in division_sales.h. So you should display that object every time it gets changed so that you know that it was changed correctly. Make sure you're including comments throughout your code. Remember, I need you to have a comment block for each of the functions you write in main.cpp, include your name up at the top, etc. And then lastly, make sure your parameters are appropriate. In other words, make sure you're using value reference or constant reference at the appropriate time. Okay, if you have any questions, obviously reach out to me. You always have tutoring available. You have my contact information on our homepage. So if you have questions or want some assistance, please reach out.